to the Hoover Institution, 97% of all California job growth is government hired.
This is not true. The error is in the Hoover Institute economist Lee Ohanian's methods. He took the total number of jobs created between January 22 and June 2024, and he got another measure of how many new government jobs were created in California over the same period. And with his little tiny gap between them, he claims the private sector only created 5,000 to 6,000 new jobs. Holy socialism, Batman! Here's the issue. He's comparing two different numbers with different definitions from different sources that should not be mixed. The total job growth figure comes from the household survey. That's where the BLS asks a bunch of households about their job situation every month. But then his industry government data comes from the establishment survey, where the BLS asks the employers the job situation. These two different surveys are very similar to each other. This is the California data. They're not even trying to measure the same thing. Treat self-employment different. They treat multiple job holders different. Treat furloughs different. If you want more details, there's a very nice discussion here over at the BLS's website. So there's also something fishy going on. The straightforward way of doing this is to use the establishment survey for everything. They have a measure of total jobs created, and they break it down by industry, such as government. And when we do that, it tells a really normal story. So why go out of your way to look at the household survey of total jobs created? They're really good for things like the unemployment rate or breaking jobs down by demographics, but not really for breaking it down by industry. I think he chose it because the household survey over this period gave a smaller number and therefore feeds into the pre-existing partisan narrative he wanted to push. To sum up, Ohanian at Hoover claimed that the Californian economy only created around 5,000 to 6,000 new jobs over a 2.5-year period, rather than the properly measured 500,000. This isn't just some survey measurement error. This is a probably intentional methodological choice to get something of 100 times magnitude incorrect. In other words, Ohanian claimed the government was responsible for 96% of the new jobs rather than the more accurate 22% of new jobs. And look, I don't blame people too much for citing Hoover Institute. They generally have a higher quality reputation relative to other think tanks out there, despite being partisan. I do blame people for not thinking more critically about that number. Take a step back and ask yourself the question, what kind of economic system has 96% of its jobs coming from the government sector? I get that people want a Chicken Little California's gone socialist. Hey, even the bona fide socialist countries don't have a public sector that's this large. Cuba's government only employs 77% of the nation's workers. Even coming down to the social capitalist country Norway, the government employs around a third of their workers. That 22% is pretty normal, y'all. But hey, don't believe me. After some reporting by the LA Times and by Invictus over in the Barry Ritholtz blog, the Hoover Institute retracted Lee Ohanian's claims. And here's the tragedy of it. This is the second time that Ohanian has tried to pull a stunt like this. Lee Ohanian is an accomplished, well-respected economist. A personal note, the methods developed in his 2003 paper with co-authors was a huge part of my dissertation. It's pretty disappointing to see him turn into a shoddy partisan hack.